g'day guys. We're on the line with Greg from the Dillinger Escape Plan, Killer Be Killed, and his new project, The Black Queen. How are you, Greg?
I'm good, man. That sounds crazy when you say it like that. It's just too much, man. That's too much. I feel like I'm gonna start adding more so that people just have to list like 15 things in a row just for my own enjoyment.
I don't know how you fit it all in, mate.
It's getting a little bit rough now. To be honest with you.
So the Black Queen's debut album, Fever Daydream, comes out in just a couple of weeks. How are you feeling about that, given how different it is to your other projects?
Man, it's been going on for so long behind the scenes. It feels like such a relief. You know, when you make a record, it kind of becomes like almost like a period of your life. And then if you get stuck making it for a long time, it's like you can't get out of that period of your life. You know, when usually you make a record, it goes much faster than this. The Killer Be Killed record took a long time, but for, Dillinger records usually we do pretty quickly. And then you can say to yourself, oh, that was where I was in November and December of 2012. That's where I was, this 3 months after. This record's been going on for we were working on it since 2011. So to get it done and get it out, it makes you feel like at ease, because you can move on from being kind of like trapped in one thing forever. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the reason for it taking so long to get out? Was it just adapting to the new sort of writing process, or?
Well, yeah, we were really careful with it. We were really attentive to detail in a way that I've never been with anything else, just because we knew it was such a huge departure that we really wanted it to be perfect in our eyes. And we, aside from the fact that I had to tour a lot, and then Josh was in 9 Inch Nails, so he had to tour a lot. We were just really, really, really careful with every little aspect of it, and we labored over it. Probably we labored over it until we were 100% ridden with anxiety, because we had just been doing it for so long. Another thing too is when you're in a new band, you can't just. We threw out a lot of songs. For the first year and a half, we threw a bunch of songs out. So it's not just about learning how to play with. You can't just throw a bunch of guys in the room and expect it to be the same as the bands that you're from, especially when it's a different genre of music. You have to relearn what your strengths and weaknesses are. What my strengths in Dillinger and KBK are meaningless in this band. The fact that I can scream forever and not lose my voice, or the fact that I can write barbaric riffs or parts or vocal patterns or whatever, that is absolutely worthless in this band. So you have to relearn a whole different role and recalibrate your strengths and weaknesses. So all that shit takes time,
Yeah, absolutely. How's the response been to the album so far?
Really good, man. Really surprisingly good. I thought that when we put it out, there was going to be a much larger portion of our audience that was obviously only willing to accept me as just this screaming savage animal all the time. So I thought that they were going to be like, what is this? I don't know what to make of this, but maybe I shouldn't have been that. Maybe I shouldn't have stereotyped our audience so much. And I think maybe the Dillinger audience is a lot more open-minded than maybe I gave them credit for, because I haven't seen anything like that. And the response has been overwhelming. We played a show in LA, we played a show in London. Both of them sold out before, on pre-sale. So it's all been very overwhelming to me, because, like I said, it's such a scary process to release something that's so vulnerable compared to how aggressive the other stuff I've been involved with is.
Yeah, well, I think the key for you is that, as with all your work, you can hear your heart and soul in the album. Did you find yourself searching through sort of different emotions while you were working with this, as opposed to sort of doing the Dillinger stuff?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what created it, is that, I've got, older, I realized that there's, a lot more of a dynamic range of emotions than just being frustrated and pissed off or depressed, or, those are the kind of things that you use, or I use Dillinger Escape Plan for, is more of a cathartic, to get rid of a lot of the top end of just, being, pissed or anxious or frustrated. And eventually, I kind of just was at a point where I needed to get something else out of me, and that, is an emotion that would be fairly inappropriate. Dillinger has a pretty, we do a lot of different things, but we do a lot of different things musically, but the emotional context is pretty is in one place, you know, and obviously KBK is not the place either. So to me, you know, as an artist, I don't really think about genre. I just think about feel. So if I have a feel that needs to come out of me, it just creates that creates the project more than anything, you know. So.
And given that it's taken, you know, 5 years to come to fruition, when you listen to it yourself, what do you feel now that, because obviously you've gone through a lot of different emotions and different things over the past few years?
I mean, there was so much that went on during the making of this behind the scenes that it's impossible for me to separate this album from my personal life, because it took me so long to do. And, like, you know, from the time we started working on this in 2011 to now, I mean, maybe there's a song on the record, that song Maybe We Should was done before the last Dillinger album was even recorded. Like, it wasn't, I mean, it was demoed, I mean, it was done. Like, the thing that you hear on the album it was finished before, you know, when we recorded the Dillinger record in, like, January of 2013. So there's shit that's that old, you know? And, like, so it's really surreal for me to have had all this stuff happening for so long that now people are just now finding out about. And that's really the trip for me, to see people be like, well, we had no idea, or like, this is crazy, I can't believe this is Greg from Dillinger. And to me, it's so weird because these songs are already 2 years old. But behind the scenes, like, so much stuff happened. We all lived together the entire time, and like a lot of crazy stuff was happening in our lives kind of at the same time. We were, like, going through a bunch of shit personally, all of us. So, like, and we're like different people than we were 3 or 4 years ago when we started this. So that's all kind of the weird thing, is like knowing that when we started this record, we were all at one place in our lives, and then we finished this record and we're in drastically different places. And like I said, usually when you start a record and finish it, there's only like a couple months difference. There's only like 2 or 3 months difference. You know, you're still pretty much the same person. But when you go over a 3 or 4 year time period, it's like, I was 31 when we started working on this, and I'm 35 now. So it's like fucking kind of ridiculous, you know.
And you mentioned before that your strengths in Dillinger, like, you know, your ability to scream without stopping, didn't really account for much in this. So did you find doing the vocals more challenging this time around?
It was more or less like I've always wanted to be able to sing this much, and I've always wanted to be able to, like, sing this well, but there's really no place for it in Dillinger. You know, and a lot of it has to do with tuning too. Like, we tune in Dillinger, we're tuned to E, which is really high. I mean, E is, you know, it's a standard tuning, but it's not that standard anymore. Like, bands like the Deftones playing like A and C, and, you know, Tool is in like G and C and A. Like, there's a lot of bands and people are like, oh, the singer's really good, just tuned down. Like, you know, Soundgarden is D and C, but Dillinger's in E, and E is what, like, you know, it's like high. And so, like, Guns N' Roses and Peter Rowan and bands like that are all tuned to E, so it's very difficult to, like, really have, like, a complete range of your voice in E without just going scorchingly high. And, you know, for this, it was a little bit like we wrote the songs around the more natural range of my voice, so it wasn't, you know, it was a little bit easier to do a whole lot of different stuff, which for me is great, because obviously Dillinger is primarily a guitar, drum, heavy band, and then I put my own vocals on top of it, so I can only write vocals to what I'm given pretty much in that band. Whereas in this band, and in KBK, we kind of wrote the music around the vocals a little bit more. So, I mean, that's nice. But yeah, I don't remember where am I going with this? I can't remember.
I was just asking if it was more challenging than in Dillinger.
No, you know what? It's different. It's just different, man. Like, it was, it's definitely way more nuanced. Like, the singing is way more nuanced and way more, you know, when you're singing like this, you can hear every little detail. So, you know, live, you know, I had to wear in-ears. You know, I've never worn in-ears before. Just because the level of nuance and detail in the vocals is so much different than when you're just blasting someone's face off with, like, a rock vocal or, like, a screamy grindcore type of vocal. Like, it's much easier to, I'm not going to say it's easier to do the screaming or the rock vocals. They're both different levels of difficulty. You know, it takes a lot more power to do that stuff, but it takes a lot more finesse to do this stuff. So I grew a ton from doing this record. I mean, I'm still just as excited about screaming and blowing people's faces off as I ever was, but it's definitely nice to know that I developed a different facet of what my ability, you know.
Absolutely. So you've stated before, and obviously you've already played a few live shows, but you've also stated that you'll be touring. Do you reckon you'll make it down to Australia sometime this year?
You know, man, I would say that it's not an off the realms of possibility thing. And we're looking, you know, we had no idea when we put this out what the response is going to be. So it's like when we do a Dillinger record, we already know that people are into it. So before we even put the record out, we already have like our touring schedule mapped out. We know where we're going to go. This was kind of a thing where we put it out, we had no idea what to expect. And then, you know, even when we booked the shows, we were kind of like, well, let's book them. And then hopefully, you know, maybe the rooms will be half full. You know, you still don't really know. And then we booked the shows and they sold out. So now we're like, okay, cool. Let's figure out where we can go that people seem to care. And you know, Australia's always been really good to me. Yeah, in any band that I've been in, I mean, the Killer Be Killed shows were fucking overwhelming to me.
Yeah,
like, I've never experienced.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite memories of my life was playing those Soundwave shows and like just seeing the reaction that we had down there. It's a real shame that we haven't gotten a chance to do more. And I talk to those guys like every day. And we're every day trying to figure out when we can either, you know, track a new record or play more shows. And you know, it's. But even with Dillinger, like when we first came to Australia in like 2002-ish or 3-ish, like I was really shocked by how, you know, and it wasn't on the same scale as Killer Be Killed, but back then, like to come down there and even play like a 300 count room and have people there and knew who we were, it was such a shock to me. So I've always really had a fond, you know, I always think fondly of Australia because it's always, for whatever reasons, embraced the stuff I've been a part of. So hopefully this will be no different.
Awesome, man. Oh, the feeling's definitely mutual. Just to finish off, at ARMI, we're one of Australia's only rock and metal training facilities. So I always like to ask artists such as yourself what advice you might have to give to any up-and-coming musicians.
I mean, the main thing to me is like love what you do and do it all the time. You know, you have to find love of the process. That's the thing that, as I've gotten older, that I realize has been the most important thing. It really isn't about, like, you know, so many people get into things and they're like, how can I they're looking for, like, quantifiable ways they can get bigger. Like, who can I talk to? You know, what label should I talk to? What, you know, should I get a manager? What kinds of things should I do? And, like, all that shit is kind of meaningless if you really love what you're doing. And this, you know, applies across any field. If you find the pure love, like I love writing, I love recording, I love being in the studio, I love being on tour. Like I'm not one of those people that like hates being on tour or hates being in the studio. Like I love all of it. Like I don't want to like do anything else with my time. I'd rather fucking be in the studio or be on tour than hang out with friends or girlfriends or anything. Like I truly love it. So like if you can get to the point where you're just fucking in love with what you do, and you'll naturally do it all the time, and you'll become great at it, and people will start to take notice.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your time, Greg. Good luck with the album release, and yeah, we hope to see you down under sometime soon.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it so much. Take care.
I feel your secret skin next to me.